Okay, we are live. Good afternoon, everybody. For those of you who don't remember me or don't know me, my name is Tammy Booth. I'm with the Extension Service for the University of Illinois right here in Decatur. But as you can see, as most people are, we're all working from home. So I bring you my home office here. So welcome, everybody. For those of you who are first time joining us, an extended welcome to you, and share. Tell everybody about the program and get more people on. And those that are coming back, we thoroughly enjoy you being back with us and hope you guys had a good lesson last week. And if you have any questions about last week, I didn't have any emails, but if anybody's got any questions, drop a note in the chat box and we'll address those. Alex, if you don't mind monitoring the chat box for me, I'd greatly appreciate it. I don't know how many, I don't think anybody's back that was here last time. So the take-home tips from last time, we talk about how that works and any goals that you set from last time to see if, you worked any of those goals. What did we do? We had finding ways to get family members involved in gardening was one of them. Try main dishes with recipes with veggies as the main ingredient and try and get the family involved in those as well. So those are a couple of the goals that we had from last week. So moving forward for this week, this is obviously lesson 6 of the Healthy Sense program. And this one is making choices between foods we need and foods we want. Foods we need and foods we want. And we all know how the want aspect works, right? I'm notorious for that as well. So let's talk about it a little bit and see how we can move forward in helping ourselves, obviously, to make things a little bit better. So the topics that we're going to include today are the difference between foods we need and foods we want, using the MyPlate guide, which is the plate behind me here. And as we know that plate is divided up into 5 categories. Excuse my dogs. Sorry about that. No, there must be somebody at the door. Anyway, okay, so how do we choose the healthy food from MyPlate based on needs and wants? Those are kind of the 3 areas that we're going to cover right now and see if we can make some progress and make things move forward a little bit better for us to make things help and change some of the things we already do. That's always the key thing, is try and change and update what we do now to make things better. Obviously, we want to be healthier. We want to be more nutrition-based instead of some of the processed and pre-mixed and pre-prepared stuff. So that's kind of where we're going to move towards that aspect as well. I hope everybody got the lesson handouts. If you didn't, they are on the website for you guys. Excuse me, guys. They are on the website for you. I sent those to Alex ahead of time, and I know she's posted them for you guys on the website. So the lesson handouts are there. The other thing I want to bring your attention to is I included 3 additional handouts for you guys. The one handout is Find Food in Illinois, and it is it looks just kind of like a map of Illinois, obviously, and it is different places that you can go find foods for those who might need additional resources for food in this rough time or any time at all. You can go to that website and it'll tell you where food options are, where food pantries, food programs of any kind, meals are being served, any of that kind of things. So that's all on that Find Food Illinois program. The other one is the texting program that we have within the extension with the University of Illinois. That is a pretty self-explanatory flyer. Follow the steps. Then you will get updates and text messages from the university throughout the week, and it will clearly tell you what is going on in your area, what might be helpful to you, maybe some helpful recipes, exercise, helpful tips on eating, those kinds of things. So check that one out as well. The last one is a resource guide, and that resource guide just clearly is what it is. It's a resource guide. So it gives you an email address to the Eat, Move, Save website, which is an awesome, awesome website if you've got time to jump on it. It'll give you recipes, it'll give you tips for shopping, how to prepare food, how to save food, how to preserve food. It even has a bar in there that if you, just say I've got chicken breast, okay? So here's the chicken breast, and I type in, I have chicken breast, and you hit send, and it will give you recipes that will benefit or will work with that, or that you can include in that recipe, or how you can use your chicken, whether it's a main dish or a side dish, an appetizer, or whatever you're looking for. It's all in there, and it will clearly give you plenty of choices and plenty of options to make things better for you, make it a little easier. Sometimes, I don't know if you guys do the same thing, but I get tired of making the same old stuff all the time. So my mind kind of draws a blank, and it's like, oh, we just had that last week, or we just had that a couple weeks ago. What else can I do? I have this stuff, you know, what can I do? And this is a really nice, helpful hint. So utilize that resource, get in there and shop around a little bit, look around on it, and see what you could do. So anyway, with that being said, we're going to move forward. So I've already made introductions. We've got kind of a small group here today. So the first thing I want to make sure that you guys all understand is that there's plenty of opportunities within today's program for you guys all to participate. And I want you to feel comfortable enough to contribute your thoughts and ideas, things that you are, you know, your questions or your thoughts or your ideas or anything like that. I want you to feel comfortable to be able to do that. And, you know, as a group, we're not going to say, oh my gosh, that was a silly question or anything like that. We're going to encourage everybody, and we're going to support everybody. And so what we call this is voice by choice. So don't hesitate to unmute yourself and jump in and ask any questions or have any comments or suggestions maybe. I'm open for all kinds of suggestions. I don't know all the answers, but I clearly can find them out for you if we need to do that. So let's talk briefly about the food that we often buy because it's something that we like, not necessarily something that we need. And I know we all do that, right? There's candy in the candy jar, there's cookies in the cabinet, there's a cupcake, there's a tub of ice cream in the freezer. All those kinds of things are clearly things that we don't necessarily need, but they're things that we want. So how can we change? How can we make that adjustment to make things a little differently? How can we make things different as far as what we can do? I am sorry about that, you guys. So what can we do? Things we want versus things we need. Things we need are things such as healthy foods, a warm place to live, good transportation, you know, a balanced diet, things that we need to survive on. Okay? Things we want instead are things like sitting down at a fast food restaurant or picking up takeout foods, buying designer jeans, or like I said, candy, or we've got a premium TV cable service. So those are, that's a food that benefits the values, the health, and the other lifestyle factors. So we need to make a choice. And I get it, you guys. I get it. Times are really strange right now, but in the normal day, it's tough to plan meals. It's tough to prepare for the unforeseen, what comes up kind of thing. Taking care of the kiddos, taking care of the hubby, working your job, all the uncertainties and unexpectations that have come up. You know, those are things that we work really hard at trying to overcome. So how can we make that a little easier for ourselves? Well, it's never going to be 100% easy. I get that. But how can we make that a little easier? Anybody got any ideas? Make any thoughts? Any suggestions that we can make this easier? How would planning a menu work? I know that's not always, you know, something that really is easy to stick to either, but sometimes I kind of find it a little easier. I'm an empty nester now, so it's just my husband and I, but we've got grandkids in and out and kids in and out all the time, so I can't really say, you know, that there's never a dull moment here, but sometimes it's easier to kind of think ahead, like, let me see, I've got this and I got this and I've got this. So kind of plan things out for the week, or maybe even if you just do it for 2 or 3 days ahead of time, which would work out tremendously. It also, you know, you kind of maybe look at your schedule and think, oh man, I got a 7 o'clock meeting tonight, so let's do soup and sandwiches tonight instead of a big meal, because then that'll get it done, get it out of the house. I can get out of the house, get to my meeting by 7. Or the kiddos have got a ball game, or they've got piano lessons, or acrobats, or gymnastics, or basketball, or whatever the case may be. You know, looking at your schedule and then looking at what you have for options to eat sometimes will kind of help relieve some of that stress. But in doing your planning, what's one good thing, what's one good tool that we can use to help plan those kinds of meals? What'll kind of help us keep us focused? How about MyPlate? Wrong side. There it is, MyPlate. MyPlate is, I look at it as it is the core, it is the base of everything that we do as far as meal prep. MyPlate divides your plate off for you. It tells you what your basic needs are. It tells you what portions, you know, and I tell the younger kids, when I have younger kids, I tell them that we want a colorful plate. So as you can see, the MyPlate behind me has 4 different colors on your plate, plus the dairy on the top right-hand side. So it's colorful. Half of our plate is fruits and vegetables. Half of your plate is fruits and vegetables. Grains and proteins fall in close by. But what do we need to do to help make that planning a little easier? Well, MyPlate makes it a little easier. Okay. So we know what we need to have. Does anybody know what we need to have as far as our daily rations for the day? Anybody know what we need to have for fruits and vegetables, or how much we need to have for our proteins and grains? Does anybody know that? Some of the basic foods that become foods that we want is a product of convenience. So therefore, they're kind of a lot of times called convenience foods. Stuff that you don't really have to have a lot of preparations to. You know, zipping through the line at your local restaurant, or, you know, going through a fast food, or ordering takeout, or having pizza delivered, or any of those kinds of things are your convenience food. sometimes that will kind of be okay if you just say you're going to grab some fried chicken or some chicken on your way home, and then you get home and you make the extras to go with it. So, you know, it helps kind of take out some of the stress. But also those things can be expensive. You know, if you're looking at, just say you budget $50 a month, and I know that's kind of stretched it because things are expensive, but if you're budgeting $50 a month for your extra eating out expense, it doesn't take long for that 50 to be gone. You know, going to the fast food restaurant, I know for just my husband and I is 20 bucks. So, you know, you're not going to be able to do that very often. So if you're really on a tight budget, you might want to see what you can do, you know, grabbing the chicken as you're going on your way home, or grabbing, you know, takeout of any kind, but adding something to it when you get home. So if you grab chicken, you could have, you know, a salad and a dessert when you got home to help offset it. Okay. And I know I enjoy the fast foods. I enjoy going out too. I like not to have to cook and be in the kitchen, but sometimes those are just things we need to watch a little bit. And then, you know, being at home cooking, you know what's going into it, so it's a little healthier. It's a little less processed. Maybe you're going to try and get away from, you know how it's cooked at home, so you're getting away from the fried, the breading, you know, all the extra grease and all that kind of stuff when it comes to, you know, the fast food prepared stuff. So if you don't mind, take a look at this handout if you have them with you. Food needs and food wants. Okay. So on the left-hand side, we have food needs and food wants on the right-hand column. So take a look at that. Let's just look at the protein kinds. So food needs, canned and dried beans are really good for proteins. Whole chicken, not fried, baked or grilled, canned fish, mixed, a meat mixed with beans or lentils is a good source of protein. But I think some of us find sometimes ourselves on the want aspect of it. And, you know, we look at like the stew meat or the prepackaged meat, the sausage, the bacon, the lunch meat, the processed meats, which are very high in salt and, you know, food preservatives and stuff that go in them as well. And frozen meals, frozen dinners are a nightmare. And I'm guilty. I have a granddaughter who loves pot pies, and she comes to visit on Thursday nights, her and the rest of the family, and they sit, and Mimi, she says, I have a pot pie for supper. I'm like, okay. So, you know, the guts of it all isn't bad. It's all of the, you know, the shell and the dough on the outside that kind of gives us a little bit of a problem. So the same thing with, let's just go down another one here, fruits. Fruits in season. Fruits in season are cheaper. And what I mean with in season is right now you're not going to find any fresh strawberries, right? No, it's going to be kind of tough. So you would be easier and you would be ahead if you got your canned fruits that have either light syrup or water. If they're heavy syrup, they're going to have a lot more sugar and stuff in them. You know, a dried fruit or a frozen 100% fruit juice would be an option. Obviously, what would be nice is fresh fruits out of season, which they're going to be more expensive. Pre-chopped fruit, that's a convenience as well. And sometimes we don't know how old that is. You know, how long has it been sitting on the shelf already pre-chopped? So we lose some of the juices that are in there. We lose some of the freshness that goes along with it. Dairy. I have a sister and brother-in-law who milk dairy, and now here in the last year have started processing their own dairy. And so they're a higher, richer dairy milk. So it's not the low fat, like the dried milk or the non-fat milk, the non-fat yogurts, and like the big blocks of non-fat cheese. And I have to admit, I'm not a huge milk drinker anyway, but the fresh, it's pasteurized, it's not homogenized, but it's pasteurized, so it's still got that cream and stuff in it. So, you know, which makes it really nice. But a full fat ice cream is really good. Do we want low fat instead? Yes, we probably should, but that full-fledged ice cream, individual packed of yogurts and cheeses, again, that's a convenience kind of thing. Dairy-based desserts like puddings and cheesecakes are all some of those things. And I guess one of the big things, as it says there in the bottom, foods that you want, other foods are sodas, cakes, donuts, potato chips, candy bars. You know, it's easy to have that stuff and just, oh, I'll just have a couple, and a couple leads to a couple more, and the next thing you know, you've eaten a half a bag of potato chips, or, you know, a candy bar, and 3 or 4 cookies or whatever. So think what your other options could be for that. What other options could you have instead of having those things hanging around? A bowl of fresh fruit, protein bars, just granola. You know, I don't mind having granola and just eating a handful of granola, or, you know, a serving size of granola. Curbs the appetite, helps, you know, with those kinds of things. And it's better for you than a donut or a piece of cake. Would I rather have a piece of cake? Yeah, I'll admit it's kind of nice. I tell a lot of my kids too, when we're talking, I'll ask them what's a good healthy breakfast, you know, and they'll go, I don't know. And I said, well, can I have, you know, a candy bar and a Coke for breakfast? And they're like, sure. And I'm like, is that what we want to have? And they're like, no. Like, no, it's not. A better breakfast is a piece of toast, which is where our brands come in. You know, your eggs and for protein, orange juice would get you your fruits. So balance out, you know, your meals, the best kind of things. Just real quick in the chat box, if you don't mind, give me a couple suggestions or a couple ideas of what you guys have a tendency to buy as a need or buy as a want instead of a need. So what are you buying as a want instead of what you actually need? Anybody got any ideas? Well, as I told you before, I, you know, clearly, you know, I'd rather have that candy bar or Reese's Pieces or M&Ms or, you know, any of that. Just, and it's, I don't need a whole lot of it, just, you know, 3 or 4 little pieces and I'm good to go. But, you know, those are just kind of things that we kind of want to think about and offset. MyPlate, like I said, is a guide that we use to remember what is meant by healthy foods. So what do we mean by healthy foods? Obviously, we need fruits. What's good for fruits? Canned, fresh, obviously. Fresh is always better in season. The dried fruits are good. And, you know, we should consume about 2 cups of fruits a day. Okay? 2 cups of fruits a day. Vegetables, you know, raw or cooked, fresh, frozen, dehydrated, cut up or mashed. Those are some suggestions of ways that you can get your vegetables. And we need 3 cups of veggies a day. Then we go to the little orange area, and that's our grains. So like wheat and rice, oats, oatmeal, cornmeal, barley, and other grains. And we want to make sure they're whole grains, not a processed grain. So obviously a brown rice is better than a white rice. And we need 8 ounces of grains a day. Proteins. So our meats, our poultry, seafoods, beans, peas, like I said, eggs are really high in protein. Nuts and seeds, you know, it's a handful of peanuts or cashews, sunflower seeds, pumpkin seeds, all those kinds of things. Those are all good and high in protein. And we need about 6.5 ounces of proteins a day. And as far as dairy, milk products and foods that are made with milk, like cheese and yogurt, you know, we have cottage cheese. Most of our dairy groups should be non-fat or low-fat. Will help keep everything in balance, and that's 3 cups of that a day. And these are just what's recommended. Do we consume more in some days and less in others? Absolutely. It would be really hard to keep it a balanced same amount every day unless you're measuring and making sure that that's what you eat. But in today's hustle and bustle, it's not always easy. I tell my kids too that it's, you know, some don't like to drink that much milk. Well, I'll drink chocolate milk. Well, chocolate milk's not always really good for us either. So just plain old milk. And if you can't get what you need in plain old milk, then revert to cheese or cottage cheese or yogurt or anything like that to get into that milk and that dairy product category and take care of what is good for us in that aspect. Let's see. So each section in the MyPlate is a careful meal plan. You know, we can use it for careful meal planning. You can also use it for shopping, for your shopping list. Comparison shopping from one store to the next sometimes helps. You know, it's easy to, you know, in my area, there's only like, there's Walmart and another grocery store is all there is in town here for me. So, you know, it's kind of hard sometimes to do some comparison shopping unless we're going out of town or whatever. But, you know, take a look at what you have and plan your meals around what's fresh and what's available. You know, obviously the spring and summer and fall, when you have all the fresh stuff coming out of the gardening and off the trees and all that kind of stuff is, you know, way to your advantage to help take care of and defray some of the costs, which is a really neat plan to do. So kind of keep that in mind because you can always utilize that aspect of the MyPlate to help curb your budget as well. In the earlier ones that we talked about, there are earlier lessons, we talked about how to maintain our budget and shop accordingly. Plan your meal out ahead of time. Plan, you know, I don't know how you guys plan your meal planning, or if you do meal plan. Some people do it a week at a time. Some people do it, you know, a couple weeks at a time. But plan out your meals and then know what you have at home, what you need to put on your list. You know, it'd be kind of silly to say that I need, you know, a pound of hamburger and I have 4 pounds sitting in the refrigerator or in the freezer. So, you know, kind of plan your meals out ahead of time a little bit. It'll help you in saving money as well. The other thing, just a real quick tip on saving money, if you go to the grocery store and sometimes there is bulk, some of your meats, some of your other stuff is in bulk, and it's cheaper that way. It's cheaper by the serving. So if you, you know, have the desire to, you know, spend a little bit but save a little bit in the same aspect, you know, we buy bigger packages of like chicken breast, and then I'll portion them down. A lot of times I'll just put a single one frozen baggie and stick it in the freezer, and then I can just pull out however many I need, and that works out really well. So, you know, you can work through that too. So that'll help you get what you need and help you kind of save a little bit of money as well. So something for you to kind of think about. Okay, so let's take a couple minutes and look at MyPlate as far as, I have 3 questions for you. How do you think MyPlate will help you plan healthy meals? How do you think MyPlate will help you plan healthy meals? Plan healthy meals, maybe it will give you a guideline, it will give you a directional to kind of help you direct your serving sizes. It'll help you to portion out your plate a little bit better. What are some of the challenges you might be facing using MyPlate as a guide for planning a meal? Any challenges you can think of? Challenges might be something about, you know, maybe the kiddos don't like certain things. You know, there's not everything I like either. So, you know, what would be beneficial for you? What would help in a substitute, so to speak? You know, there are some kids who don't like cooked carrots, but they'll eat a raw carrot. So, okay, that's okay. We can just make that switch. Some don't like a lot of fruits. So could we make it into a smoothie? Could we substitute it with 100% fruit juice? Absolutely, absolutely. Anything we can do to kind of help. So this might be a little challenges in planning your meal. Maybe it's something that, you know, it's kind of like, I don't have a whole lot that I want to put with this that my kiddos or my family will eat. So, you know, might be a little low on vegetables this meal, but I'll make up for it in the next meal. Okay. And what are some things that you could do to overcome these challenges? Maybe be more conscious of what you have and how to plan. Get the family involved, get the kiddos involved, get the hubby involved, and sit down and decide, hey, this will work, that'll work. What would you guys like to eat? And just a reminder, we have, you know, a ball game that night, so do we want to eat heavy because you'll probably want popcorn at the ball game, or, you know, those kinds of things. So get everybody involved to decide kind of what they'll want to eat. You know, I want to grill some chicken, and I want to make some, you know, brown rice, and I want to put my chicken over top of my brown rice. So what else can I have with that? Okay, kiddos, what do you want? Do you want a salad to go with that, or would you rather have a vegetable? You know, like green beans or peas or something like that. So give them a little bit of an option to kind of help talk things through. And then the availability of what you have also, you know, makes a big difference. So those are kind of some of the things that we kind of, you know, work through and talk about a little bit to utilize MyPlate. So we can kind of look at, again, the aspect of foods that we really need and the foods that we want. So what do we really need opposed to what we want? And we're going to incorporate that into our meal planning and into our shopping, and hopefully make that transition and help our budget, help our eating habits, and all that kind of stuff as well. Okay. The other handout that you have available to you also is kind of a little game. And since we're not in person, we'll kind of try and do it a little bit on the side. I'll let you guys kind of maybe even take it home and work on it or whatever. So this is food needs and wants. It's kind of a board game. So the object of this is you have 12 beans So if I was there with you in class, we would get you, I would give you 12 beans. And those beans are your monies or your budget for a week. So if you were going to go to the store and you needed to buy for all the categories, then you need to use those beans as to how much. Okay, now remember, you're going to plan meals for a week and use the 12 beans. And you notice if it's something that's a little bit more of a convenient or a processed food, it's taken more beans. So the very first one is protein. It's dried or canned beans. That's 1 bean. But if you go down to deli meat, which is processed, has a lot of salt in it, has a lot of extra preservatives and stuff, and that's 3 beans. So out of 12, you're down to 9 beans, and all you got was a package of deli meat. Okay? And you go into vegetables, and you got individual packaged vegetable snacks. That's 3 beans. The same way, if you want a smoothie or whatever, that's 3 beans. So it's just easier. I know it's time consuming. I know it can be a little tedious from time to time. But if you would come home and take just a certain day, whether it's a Saturday or a Sunday or a Monday or whatever day, and say, okay, I'm gonna chop up a bunch of fruit and vegetables, and I'm gonna put them in my own little baggies, and I'm gonna stick them in the refrigerator for the kiddos, so they can grab one, or myself, I can grab one and take off. I could take it to lunch with me. I can take it in the car if we're running errands. I can, throw it in the kids' lunchbox. But if you make stuff pre-prepared, you buy it fresh from the store, come home and do the labor yourself to chop it up and put it into individual baggies. It's now your convenient food that you know how it's been done, and it's in your refrigerator to benefit you and your family. Okay? So just kind of play with that this week, you guys. And needs versus wants, kind of a bean game, and you can use whatever, but you have 12 beans and you're going to buy food for a week with 12 beans. Okay, so you need to buy at least 1 item from the main categories, and 2 if possible. And then obviously the very bottom where it says other foods, we're going to try and stay away from that as much as we can and use something different. Okay. All right. Let's go to our recipe. As we all know, we do a recipe every month or every time we're together. So this recipe is a corn salad. It's really simple to do. It's 2 cups of corn. And this is one of your handouts as well. So it's fresh or frozen. And then it can be cooked and then drained. And 2 medium-sized tomatoes. We're going to chop those up. A half of a green pepper, a quarter of an onion, and a quarter of a cup of ranch dressing, fat-free. Okay, so we're going to chop up the tomatoes and the peppers and the onion and the dressing, and then we're going to combine all of that in a bowl. Okay, you're going to stir in the dressing and you're going to refrigerate it. So you can eat it as a side salad. I've had some people say they use it kind of as a dip. Whatever you want to do. I think this recipe would be kind of cool with like tacos, or a Mexican would go good with a Mexican dip, or even like a spaghetti or something like that too. It might not be too bad with that as well. It's a fairly inexpensive. There's not a whole lot of ingredients in it. They're not a real pricey ingredient, so it's not something that's going to really damage your budget quite as as harshly as others will. And then our take-home tips. This is where I challenge you guys every week. The take-home tips are making choices between foods and needs and food wants. So when you plan your meals, make your shopping list and think about the foods you need first. And then limit the food wants that are low in nutrition but high in fat and calories. Those, what we call once in a while kind of foods. It's kind of a treat. Limit the convenience foods when planning meals. And I know you can't eliminate them altogether. It would be very hard because it's so easy sometimes to grab one of those frozen big lasagnas or meat dishes or whatever and throw it in the oven because you've got a jam-packed schedule or a lot going on. Plan your meals and buy your foods using the MyPlate model. So utilizing those 5 categories and how they're designed, utilize those as kind of a planning tool. What's kind of works good for you. And here's the goals I want to set for you guys. When planning meals, I will consider my food needs and wants. That's number 1. Number 2, I will limit buying once in a while foods. And number 3, I will buy fewer convenience foods and prepare more foods at home, which we talked about. It's a little more time consuming, a little planning to get it into your schedule, but it is certainly doable. Number 4, I will try to follow MyPlate when planning meals. And number 5, I will try one new healthy recipe in the coming week. And then there's a line for another in case there's another goal you want to try and set for yourself. But I challenge you guys to each pick 1 or 2 of those lessons, of those goals, set them for yourself, or more if you want to, but at least try and pick 1 or 2 and set those goals. Circle them there on your sheet, put it on your refrigerator, your cabinet, wherever that you see it, bulletin board, whatever, and utilize that to start changing your ways of doing things. Start changing maybe your habits that you're not totally comfortable with, or something that you want to change or you want to do differently for your family. These might be some goals that will kind of help you set in those directions. Okay? Anybody got any questions? Don't forget, you can certainly reach out to me anytime. I just put my email address in the chat box. So feel free to reach out if you've got any questions or comments or concerns. You got any suggestions about different recipes or different ideas, or results of your game, or just want to chit chat, feel free to reach out to me and we'll talk about that as well. So if nobody has any other questions, I think we have gotten done a little early today, but I encourage you guys, spread the word and come back and join us next week. Next week's lesson is going to be talking about what kind of assistance programs we have in the area for community food. What are our resources available that we can reach out and get assistance for food shortages that we might have because of a particular reason. The things that come up all the time, so don't hesitate to use those resources when we need to. So we'll talk about that next week, and that class will be on March the 2nd at 3 o'clock here. We'll have a live Zoom with it as well. Alex will have all that stuff posted, and you can sign up and get the link for it, or just pop on and join us. And there will be handouts for that lesson as well, so I will make sure that those are to Alex so that you can utilize those as well. So if nobody has anything else, I thank you very much for your time. And I hope you enjoyed today's lesson, and I hope there were some tips and pointers and helpful things that got you kind of thinking and maybe can help you do things a little differently in your household. Thank you very much, everyone. You have a great rest of your day, and I'll see you next time. Bye-bye.